What's going on, dudes and dudettes? Sorry about my hair. It looks all puffy like I got a blowout like a chick. But yeah, every time I wash my hair with my shampoo and it dries like this, it always goes poof. And if not, then a day later it gets all greasy. Too much information, but that's what you're here for. Yes, when it comes to the NCAA tournament, yes, both Duke and USC made it. Start off with Duke first, so they made it as a number 5 seed. Obviously, people thought they were going to go higher just because they won the ACC tournament. Kind of expected maybe to push 4-3 in the best of circumstances. Definitely a 4th seed, but a 5th seed isn't too bad. But when you look at the history of the NCAA tournament, a lot of the madness in March Madness does happen around there where there's a lot of upsets. And Duke has been upset wherever I've seen them in number 1. Or not, I don't know about number 1. I think Virginia's the only one that lost, but 2. Definitely 3 as well, but I don't think they've lost to Oral Roberts recently. I know it was Lehigh and some other dumb schools nobody's ever heard of in the first round. But yes, it should be a good enough matchup. I know there's a very tall 7'4" guy that is on the team who is from Arkansas who transferred over there, and there's another guy at Asmus, or I forget, it's AB something. But he's one of the guards. He's one of the better scoring guards in college basketball, and he could be a handful. But if you just limit those 2 guys, and Duke has been playing better defense and probably just score 65, 60 points enough, should be able to get the job done, as I was trying to say. So hopefully that does happen. Definitely looking forward to it starting, I believe it's Thursday night, or at least around 4 o'clock around here in the West Coast, so that'd be cool. And then the women's, they got the number 3 seed as well. I think they're playing up in Seattle against Iona, so it should be an easier matchup for them, but that's a pretty good turnaround for them really quickly, and definitely hoping they could try to make a deep run in the women's side. And when it comes to the men's side for USC, yes, they got in barely, and both Duke and USC, of course, in the same region, so at some point I think it might be the Elite 8. If you do it correctly and it all works out, they could end up meeting each other, but I don't think that is going to happen either way. But USC does have a tough matchup against Michigan State and Tom Izzo, who usually are one of the better teams around March, but as of late, they haven't really been. Even most recent years, they were a number 2 seed and lost. I think that was the Middle Tennessee State. They've lost pretty early before as well in recent years, so USC does have a chance. I know they played the 7-10 game last year where they were actually the 7 team and Miami was a 10, and they barely lost that game on a half-court shot. So they play their game. If everyone seems healthy enough, especially Drew Peterson, then they definitely have a chance against Michigan State, who isn't as good of a team this year as far as star-wise and everything like that, team-wise. So if they get a couple of plays here and there, a couple nice stops and stuff, and I definitely think they have a chance to advance. They most likely will lose the next game. I forget who they would play, but I think it's Marquette, something like that. But that's the number 2 team in that region. So either way, it's going to be tough matchups for both these guys. This is one of at least the second toughest region when it comes to the March Madness. And the women's side also was able to get the number 8 seed, and I forget who they're playing, but I think it was South Dakota State, something like that. So I know it's 8 and 9 or right around there. It's usually a pick 'em or flip the coin, whoever's going to win, because they're so evenly matched the teams. But I think the women's side has it because they've been pretty good this year, and they did beat the number 1 or 2 team at the time in Stanford as well. So they definitely have a shot. There's a couple interesting facts too. I think both Duke and USC, they're 2 of 14 teams to play in not only a college football bowl game, but also make the tournament in both the men's and women's side, which is pretty cool. But USC is one of 3 schools to not only make the tournaments on the men and women's side, but play in a New Year's 6 bowl game, which is obviously one of the higher prestigious type of games. I know Duke played in the Henry Mayo or something, whatever that was. They did win that bowl game, but it's not as prestigious as the Rose Bowl, Sugar Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, all those other bowls. So yeah, either way, pretty cool stat that at least both Duke and USC are having some very positive couple seasons. So I'm definitely excited about that, as you can tell. Then when it comes to Sam Darnold, yes, ex-USC, great quarterback. He, I guess, didn't re-sign with Carolina, so he ended up signing a one-year deal. Most likely a prove-it deal to try to get somewhere else, because I don't know if he's going to stay with San Francisco, but it's pretty cool. He's going to be on my mom's and sister's team, the 49ers. Definitely has, sad to say, he definitely has a chance to play, because it always seems like a quarterback ends up getting hurt. He might not start the season. I'm pretty sure Trey Lance will start the season because he will be the healthiest of the two. I know Brock Purdy will be able to be throwing and all that stuff by then, by all those like summer workouts, but I don't know if they're going to just throw him out there and if he is really going to be the number one guy, because they did draft Trey Lance like number 3 overall in the draft, so they still got to see what he's made out of. But we will see, because sadly there always seems to be injuries at that very important position on their team, so we will see. So good luck to him. And then the Chargers made a couple of signings as well. They did sign a linebacker, Eric Kendricks, who was recently, I think his whole career he's been with Minnesota, but he did sign like a 2-year, I think it's around $13 million deal, 13 to 15, which isn't too bad. He's actually like now the third UCLA Bruin on the roster. And you know how many USC players are on the Charge roster? 0. But yes, maybe some of those guys, even like a Joshua Kelly, the running back, is up in the air. Otito Ogbonnia, the defensive lineman, has had an injury as well last year. So why keep going to that well if they ain't playing good? But whatever. Kendricks, I really liked him, even though he was from there. He was definitely part of like some of the bigger upsets UCLA had over USC. So I definitely remember him well. He was definitely like a really good linebacker with Minnesota, all pro, all defense, whatever. So he's been pretty productive. He is like 31, so that's why it's not that long of a deal. And I think there were other younger guys out there that did have some pretty low contracts, like a TJ Edwards had a 3-year deal, which probably why he wasn't able to sign with the Chargers. They probably didn't want to go that long, but numbers wise and the amount wise, it was kind of right there. So I don't know why. Even like a David Long, who signed with Miami, I can understand Miami just because you're going to get all that money compared to getting taxed like out here in California. So I don't know. We'll see what other moves they can make. I know they might be trying to sign some other guys. A lot of people think this might be because they signed this linebacker because they're most likely going to lose Drew Tranquil, who is a guy that's been on the team ever since he's been drafted and definitely deserves a new contract, but for some reason they might not be able to make one out. So we'll see, but they definitely have a chance because I don't think they've franchise tagged anybody either, so they can technically still do that, or the non-exclusive one, which means he can still try to get a contract from someone else, and if the Chargers want to match it, they can. So they can still have that in the back pocket. I know they want to, maybe a lot of people are saying re-sign Trey Pipkins, the offensive lineman. I don't see what they see. I know he's more of like a depth thing. I don't think he could really start. I prefer Sawyer over him as a starting tackle, but what do I know, right? Then they also re-signed a backup quarterback in Easton Stick to like around a 1-year, $1 million deal. It kind of solidifies the fact that they aren't going to keep 3 quarterbacks on the roster anymore. So Chase Daniel is most likely gone, and we'll see if he can continue his backup quarterback signings of at least 1 year, because he's been in the league forever just to be a 1-year backup and made $1 million each time, it seems like. So he's definitely making a lot of money, but we'll see. So not that bad of a pickup, but if the Chargers do somehow end up getting Justin Herbert hurts, then it could be pretty bad. They might have to go get a veteran somewhere else, so we will see. Then yes, I forgot to mention the other day talking about the ACC tournament and Duke's win that Kyle Filipowski was named the MVP of the ACC tournament. He obviously deserved it, was the more consistent, especially stat-wise and winning-wise for Duke. Jeremy Roach did have a nice game as well in that final for the ACC, but Filipowski, I think he definitely earned it, and it's a lot of good momentum for them going into the tournament this Thursday. Oh yeah, and USC plays Friday, but like early, like 9 or 9:30 on here on the West Coast, so it should be fun. Stay up for that. I'll be up anyway, so shouldn't be that hard. Then when it comes to the Chargers, yes, I did do a short video, or shorts as YouTube calls them, about Austin Ekeler requesting a trade, or requesting to attempt to pursue a trade to another team. I don't think the Chargers have allowed him officially yet, because I know they were trying to get a deal with him, an extension, but it doesn't look like it's going to work out. But I would say just let him do it to see what he can do. And I mean, as long as he's still game to come back, where the Chargers don't want to do any of the deals that he's doing, wants to get done, then he's still going to end up playing for them either way on this last year of his contract. But if not, they could still have time to trade him over the summer if there's other injuries on other teams, or throughout the first half of the season too as well. So I think either way they could still have a waiting game and make the best decision for themselves. I know I mentioned in that video that they can maybe get a first round pick, maybe not. So I know that maybe the highest it could be is a second round, third round pick for him. But I know right after that news came out, the betting odds in Vegas for the Chargers to draft the top running back out of Texas, Bijan Robinson, went up. I think I mentioned that it was like high thousands to like really low. So it's like almost like a definite that it would happen. But I think they could still get a better player to maybe help out Herbert at that position, as far as like a receiver or tight end compared to that as a running back. Yes, he is a catching running back, but I just think you could get like a guy like a Jahmyr Gibbs, who's considered the second best running back from Alabama out there in the draft in the next round, who should be available at that area in that second round where they're picking, or if you have to move up to get him a little bit, shouldn't be that hard either. So there's a lot of guys that could still get and replace Austin Ekeler if they do end up trading him. So we'll see some interesting stuff happening there officially. And then yes, USC baseball did beat number 2 Stanford once again 4-1. So I think baseball plays like a 3-game series in college. So they won 2 of the 3 games. So not bad winning the series against what was the number 2 team in the nation. They're most likely going to move down. See if that gets USC ranked. But yeah, some nice momentum going into the rest of the season for them. And then yes, Andy Enfield for USC, the head coach, he's had 5 tournament appearances, or bids as they call them. And according to most previous USC basketball coaches' history, he now leads them with that 5 number. I forget what year it was, like 2020. He probably would have already had it because USC had a really good record that year, but everything got shut down and stuff. So he probably would have already had this record, but now it's official. And yeah, it's definitely, I guess it hasn't really been that hard because USC basketball hasn't really been all that great even before I started liking USC sports and USC football. So yeah, I still don't know that much history of USC basketball, but yeah, it doesn't seem like it's been all that great, really. And then, yes, a couple more of these USC football visits, or more official visits coming, especially for a lot of talented players. So I'll end this video off with those. A 4-star running back in Taylor Tatum. He's a really talented dude. I want to say he's out of Texas, but he has a really great relationship with the running backs coach here at USC, McDonald, and with Lincoln Riley. He's been back multiple times as well, unofficially, so maybe he will be back officially at some point. But yeah, he's definitely one of the better elite running backs in 2024. And then a 5-star edge player in Colin Simmons. He's definitely one of the more talented edge players out there. And I think he's going to set up an April 8th visit. It's probably the spring game for USC. So big time get if they're able to get him. And speaking of even future guys, the 2025 5-star running back DeAndre Ridden, from Texas, I believe, is also a guy that has a great relationship with the running backs coach at USC, Keel McDonald, and also pretty good with Lincoln Riley. So be a big time get to steal another talented dude away from the state of Texas. And then a couple of 4-star safeties. Jordan Johnson Rubel, who I believe is from IMG Academy out there in Florida, which is one of the top, not only high schools in Florida, but of all the country as well. They're always top 10, top 15, 20 at the least. But yes, he's going to end up playing a future visit to USC, so that's pretty good. And then the 4-star safety Aaron Flowers, who I think is once again from Texas, another talented dude from the state of Texas. So hopefully, definitely be able to try to get some of these guys, most of these guys, on the roster in the future at some point for USC football, which is always good. Like, I like to see the numbers like 2025, 2026 when it comes to Lincoln Riley, because you never officially know with these coaches, especially like a Lincoln Riley, if he starts to not feel good and he starts to feel uneasy, then he starts thinking about his future and wants to just take off and leave. But if he's looking at future guys in the future when it comes to recruiting in high school, then I think it's a positive thing for USC. So that's what I'm hoping for. It's the best thing. So yes, thanks for watching, people. Like and subscribe. Comment down below. Let me know what y'all think. Have a great rest of your day. Bye. Go Duke and fight on.